Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is my first YouTube video, so I'm really excited to be working on this project of Monster High PERI and Pearl. So this is a all-around view. I've done some minor work on this already off camera. So this is the hand, which I've changed the shape of the fingers by burning them with a lighter and sticking the fingers together. I've removed the fins, which we will not need because it's not going to be anything like mermaid or ocean related piece in the end. I've done this texture on the face with Epoxy Sculpt, which you can see here. So just did a bit of texture with a dot tool. So yeah, I've tried to remove the makeup, but then I've decided the face will be painted, so that doesn't really matter. Here is a mask I did off camera too. I wasn't sure I'm gonna use it, but actually molded it on the face. I don't know if it's correct mold. I've just layered tissue with PVA glue and applied a final layer of the texture paste to make it a bit more firm. Did about 6 layers of tissue with glue. Yeah, it's actually a good technique for quick things like that. It's been drying actually about PVA glue dries quite hard when layered like that, so I've kind of left it overnight. I'm not sure how long it took to become solid. So yeah, we are going to remove the blue hair because I want to change that for a red hair and keep the white one. So we're starting by removing the hair. Try and cut as close as you can to the roots, just because there is less hair on the head later on, so you can just easily apply the new wig or anything you know, whatever you decide to do with it is easier. So here we have all the hair removed, nice and clean, ready for the wig. Here is actually some Epoxy Sculpt eyes that I created. I've made. So here's the Epoxy Sculpt. You just mix equal quantities from the both tubes, and I did some horns as well. They've been drying about 24 hours, so you kind of need to do them and leave it for the next day. This is the color that we're gonna be using to actually paint over the face, and this is a texture paste which is so amazing. It's actually done for painting. You can mix that with colors or actually apply it and then paint on top. So this is the wig as well that is gonna go on. This will be the bad evil sister. So I really love this wig. It was actually bought for me, but I never wore it, so I thought I'll just kind of use it for something. So yep. So we're gonna just hot glue the eyes. They've actually just been molded on the eyes, so if you can see there, they have the shape of the eye, so when it's going to be glued on, it's actually going to kind of match the shape of the eye and stuff, just to make sure it sticks really well and doesn't leave any space around. So just kind of put that on. Usually hot glue doesn't stick on plastic as well, but we're gonna kind of put some paper with glue around on the face for texture, so that's just gonna hold the eyes better. But they actually held really well, to be honest, so I guess it just depends on the plastic. This one is not as kind of shiny, slippery, so it actually has a good hold. So here we're just kind of trying to find some space where the horns are gonna go. When you're happy with it, just kind of try and place them before, so you can actually find a good place. So yeah, I think we're happy with, so go ahead, glue them on as well. So this one doesn't really hold on, that's why I was saying it doesn't really stick very well to plastic, but you know, eventually, depends. You can always use better glue like epoxy glue, or but I knew I'm gonna. So here we get the white acrylic. To be honest, I'm not really fussy with the quality of the paints. I usually just work with whatever I have around the house. This is actually really good acrylic, although I don't think it's like the best or the most expensive, but it's actually really good. I've used it for quite a lot of projects. So just covering the whole thing. I'm not bothered about going around the hair because the hair is meant to be a bit messy, which I'm gonna mess it up on purpose later on with a darker color. So try and cover everything in a thin layer. And now this is actually a color that I've got from a just a decorating shop. So this is actually wall emulsion paint. But it's a good color, I liked it, and they only sold this sample for like €1, £1.50. We're in the UK, so yeah, that's about €1 or €2, which was quite cheap, and I love the color. So we're just gonna try and cover some of the doll with that. You can put as much as you want and, you know, darken it wherever you want. I started with just putting it at the edges, but then I kind of got carried away and ended up just painted it all over again. So here is I thought I'm gonna leave the hands, but in the end you'll see I've actually decided to cover them. So this, what I'm doing now, is completely unnecessary, so we're gonna leave that and move on. So here we're back to the face, just trying to get rid of the brush strokes. So try and kind of just tap and kind of get rid of those lines from the brush. So once you're happy with, or at least not really embarrassed of what you did, you can move on. So this is the texture paste. Is a bit more expensive. I got it from Hobbycraft if you are in the UK, or I guess you can find it online too. It's got really good kind of, it just like it creates these peaks that they just stay on, and it dries actually quite quick as well if you're not going like extra thick. So I'm just kind of applying it all over as well. You can just do whatever you feel comfortable with. I don't ever have a plan for what I'm doing so much. Just kind of go with what it feels at the moment, with how it feels at the moment. Of I don't know what I want to achieve. I just kind of go for it and stop whenever I feel like I'm not embarrassed of what I'm doing. So here is what we have. So went over the head as well with the paint and the texture paste, because I want that kind of mucky, kind of really just dirty kind of hair and roots and stuff. So just kind of do whatever matches the style you're really going for. So here is just going with more acrylic over the eye. I just thought they have to be a little bit brighter than the face. So here is actually something I wasn't happy as much with only the texture paste being over the face, so I started to just apply tissue with PVA glue, just the usual one really. So just doing layers and trying to crease so I have some like sort of dry skin, just anything that looks creepy and, you know, just as close as you can to like a burnt or really dry. And that's what we're doing now, actually, what I said earlier, the pouring the paper around the eyes, so that is gonna hold them better. Really, there is nothing that's gonna take them off once this is dry. It's actually PVA glue with tissue, ends up being really firm once dried is is only paper and glue, but it creates a very, very strong bond actually, so the eyes are gonna stay there. So this is just something that we have after pouring the tissue on as well, which is gonna be amazing once dry and painted on top. So I wanted a love roof texture, which I just kind of went crazy with the paint and the tissue over the face. I don't, in this style, the horror stuff, the more messed up is, the better, I guess. Have to be a controlled level of messed up, or else it just looks bad. I hope it doesn't look bad. So here we're just gonna paint the horns as well with the emulsion walls paint. You can literally use anything, to be honest. I've just used whatever matched the color palette I was going for. So here is the hair as well. That looks really amazing. I love that wig. So here is the mask. Yes, this was done actually as well. Tissue, actually toilet paper with PVA glue, applied about 5 layers probably, so it is quite thin, but I'm not going to use this mask. It's just going to be put on the head, so it is like thick enough for that. So we're gonna go ahead with cutting the eyes now, just to make it really look like a mask. So just gonna kind of just cut whatever you're happy with, really. So it looks like we have something good here. So we're gonna go ahead and get some pastel. Just get your knife or whatever that you can scrape some of it off, so we can work with that powder to create some color on the mask. As when it comes to tools, I really just use anything that kind of works for whatever I need to do. I'm not really organized with like my tools or paints or anything like that. I don't plan ahead. I just go with whatever feels right. I just like that kind of natural, just however it goes, that's how I'm just gonna go with it, really. So here we're just putting in some shapes, just some sort of like wherever feels right. Just it's good to start with just some shadows kind of thing, and then add thicker paint as you go. So here I just decided to go for a tear, just make it a bit more dramatic. I wanted the mask to be like a sad thing, like a sad face, because it's gonna go on top of the bad sister. So I wanted this to be like a mask that maybe she puts out to the world, but then she's like really evil actually. So yeah, we're going for something that it is a bit more like hurt and sad. So decided as well to just sew her mouth. A good tip, which I've actually didn't do here, is before you sew anything like this, you should first cut it, so it does look like it's got that cut. That's why it's sewn. I didn't do that here, but I cover later on with a bit more thicker blood, so you can't really see that, but it's good to just make that cut. Just makes it more believable, more real, I guess. So here I'm just putting a bit of water in the leftovers from that pastel powder and just kind of mixing it all together. I'm not really happy here with the color. It's very orangey, but you're gonna see what I'm doing with it later on, which is gonna sort it all out. It's gonna make it amazing. So kind of just do with it whatever it looks good to you, really. Adding more blood. There is never enough blood when you're doing this style, so go with it, like go crazy. It's gonna look good. So So yeah, I decided to actually add some writing kind of going across the forehead and through the eye. I was thinking of actually just gluing on top some like really vintage French type of, I don't know, just print something out in that style and kind of put it on top, but then thought, well, the hell, let's just kind of go natural and write something and stuff, you know, make it more original, and you know, so just adding here a bit more color. It look like it needs the edges a bit more dark, and I love painting on top of this paper kind of thing because it's got so much texture, you don't really need to try and paint, it just kind of happens. So here is the girls all dried up, the paper is all dried up, the hair is put on, and the red wig, the white one I've just kind of made into like a puffy mess. So here's actually, I've split the kind of skin under the eyes, which I'm later gonna add blood on. I just wanted that kind of thing like of the ripped skin. So just going over again with that color over the paper. Obviously we need to seal all that, so kind of just giving it a thin layer all over again. One thing I recommend is probably trying to, this color ended up drying and being a bit darker than what I wanted, so maybe it's just better to first kind of make sure on a piece of paper that you know how the color is gonna dry and stuff. So here we're going with dark brown and white, creating some highlights, creating some volume to the face, so it's not just on one color. So as well, kind of just, you know, apply your makeup techniques to all this stuff is gonna help you basically just, you know, go with white on the highlights point and then add some brown in the creases and stuff. So I'm really happy at this moment how, you know, how the face are, the hair, I love the hair and the horns. So yeah, whenever you're happy with, you can start with the fun. So actually we are adding some dark around the eyes. Is time to make those eyes pop and, you know, bring the creepy to a different level. So here kind of going with a with actually pastel, black pastel and red, so and dipping into the water, so you kind of get that half dry half wet brush, so you can kind of just smudge, kind of pour a bit of color and then kind of smudge to make those transitions. I'm not going for anything very neat. I think in the horror style, messy is actually something they, you know, is welcome. So I'm just kind of going for it really. So we're gonna do a crazy eye, doing a red spiral on the eye. You might try and use a pencil for that, just to make sure you're getting your spiral like right or whatever. If you're not really confident, I usually, as I said, I don't really kind of prepare ahead. I have a steady hand, so I trust that I'm gonna be able to make it well. So here's actually some resin dye, which I can't really advise of using it. I'm just putting it on now because I'm gonna go later on with resin on top to create that really wet kind of blood. So this was the most intense red that I had on hand while doing this, so I kind of just went for it as a base layer, but it's not something that I should really recommend as a technique, because, you know, it's not something that you'd find anywhere. The resin dyes I actually just order it off eBay. I can't find it anywhere else, to be honest, so you can just use red acrylic. So going for the same technique on the other eye, kind of just smudge, make it dirty, make it look whatever you know you like, that's the right thing to do. So tip of the nose a little bit, be on the lips, give it some volume to the whole thing. So it looks freaky at this moment, but you know, that's what I'm going for, so that's all right. My sister at this point was like, oh my god, what are you doing? Okay, so this is the fun part, and this is epoxy glue that comes in like 2 tubes, so you mix equal parts of it, and then I've added the red resin dye into it. So basically it makes this substance that looks like blood, and it actually dries like glass, so it looks always like fresh blood, which I'm in love with it, honestly. If you guys are interested, you can just write down in the comments, and I'm actually gonna make a video how I'm making this. It is really amazing, and for me that I use blood so much in all my dolls and stuff, it's been a true discovery, to be honest. I love it. I can't live without it now. So kind of just going to apply underneath the eye, just give it that thing like it's broken fresh skin. You know, you can apply as much of it as you want. It is really amazing stuff, and it hardens in about 5 minutes and maybe like half an hour to be completely dry. But I kind of put it on and never touch it until like next day, just in case I don't want to leave any like fingerprints or stuff. So just doing some smudged lipstick on her, adding a bit around the horns, which is really good. This is actually a really thick glue, so it's gonna hold those horns in place even better. So yeah, I've done actually this face off camera as well, because it was really late at night. I was tired, the light was bad, so I just kind of done it and then realized that I didn't record any of it. So I'm really sorry, but that was the easy part. The hard part on the other face I showed you guys. So so yeah, just going for like a lot of blood on there, leaving it like to be like drips of it on the hair. It just makes it look more natural. I love that the little drop that comes from the horn on the forehead. That's my favorite part. So yeah, here is why I'm actually applying that to the mouth as well, which that's why I was saying that it's not really gonna be visible that the mouth is not cut, but usually try and do that if you're gonna do anything they stitched, kind of cut it before. It's just more realistic like that. So adding some fresh blood over the mouth as well, and you guys try and work really quick with that, because it's like liquid, and then in like a minute just goes totally like just weird. This starts to stick together, and in no time it's just gonna become a blob that you won't be able to use that resin anymore. So just try and kind of prepare what you need to use it on, and be ready to just kind of deal with it in like 30 seconds. So here you're actually gonna see, so if you see that blob now there, that's why it becomes. So if you see like it's all drags and stuff, so that is like that again for like maybe another 30 seconds, and then you can't really do too much with it. So it becomes really like jelly, but it's got no give really, so it just becomes like, I don't know, like just something you can't really manage. But I usually put these rough blobs like whatever it makes sense, so kind of just applying them under the eye. It looks actually like raw pieces of dry, you know, bloody pieces of blood or meat or whatever.